Hey everybody, Chris here with T3 Handicapping, and today I'm going to be looking at our card for Wednesday, September 8th, 2021 at Indiana Grand. If you want to follow these picks, in particular following scratches, you can see the T3 boards at Handicapping T3. I also do have an initial write-up on this online at bettingnews.com, so you can see that there as well. And then, like I said, as I do every day, I will post with scratches the T3 boards up on my Twitter account at Handicapping T3, so you can go ahead and check those out there. We'll take a quick look at the Tuesday card. As I mentioned yesterday in the video, switched over to using a power rating system, so wasn't using the boards quite as much today. Really focused much more on using the power ratings, and those were quite successful for me early on, particularly keying off the 3-horse in race number 3, which you can see why that was done there. So, overall, pretty good collection of green coming through. This is a quarter horse race, which is why it's not indicated or why it's not marked with anything there. The only race I did not have the winner was in this one here. Kind of an upset play there with the 3-horse getting home in the first race. But after that, went on a pretty nice run of having all of the winners throughout the card. As I've talked about before, my big kind of emphasis is always on the T3 horses. So that would have been the number 3, who was a winner. The number 2, who was a winner. We had kind of a number 8 here, though as I've mentioned before, when they do this, I typically don't use them, but I did have it here. That horse ran out of the number, so that was not great. The 3-horse did not hit the board, so that was not great. You have the 5-horse here that ran well enough, but again, with so many congested things, I would not have probably used that horse in that way. And then here the 5 was a T3 horse as well, and that one ran second. So overall, a hit or miss day for the T3 horses at Indiana Grand, but still plenty of winners to account for. As I mentioned, I kind of really keyed heavily on this 3 here, and so I missed the early pick 3, but hit middle pick 3s and late pick 3s coming out of into and out of this 3-horse, which was kind of nice and made for a profitable day at Indiana Grand. So let's jump into today's card. And hope we can recreate some of that success. So once again, I've kept it pretty simple. We're just going to run through the power ratings and put together sort of my plays from there. Over here, once again, I have my letter grades for the horses based on their power ratings. And I'm going to go ahead here and just make sure that we've got the ability to actually see when we're in a smaller screen. So there we go. Perfect. Excellent. So we're going to start off race 1, 5.5 furlongs, Philly State Bred Claimers, non-winners 2 lifetime. As you can see, I've got kind of a split between B and C horses. So the number 1, 5-1, 85B. Number 2, the favorite, Marcelina Pedroza. Obviously great numbers on the connections, but I only have him rating out as a 51, which is a non-use. So if I can beat this horse here, I'm going to make some pretty good money. 81B on the 3. The 4-horse has a good run style here. 72C grade. Corsadat is 76C. That's the number 5. And the number 6, Embroiled, 64. Non-factor in this race. So as I go through here, I can see that my top-rated horse is at 85. That was the number 1 at 5-1. That's my top selection. But I'm going to pair that one with the 3, who is at 7-2, and I'm going to put those over the 4 and the 5. Now, the favorite could win here. Certainly, that's a possibility. The P concerns me just a little bit. That run style was not quite as effective, has not been quite as effective over the course of the last couple of race days. So maybe we'll see that trend continue. I also don't like to see this downward flow in form. And this last race on turf, just a lot of confusing signals there. So we're moving on to race number 2. We've got sort of a 4 deep in that first race. This one's going to be a really short race. So Cake in a Can, the number 1 horse, I've got 76C. It's All About You, Lou, 48. That would be an X. I would not use that horse. Fearless Anna at 6-5, 67. Now, this is one of those horses that's interesting because I like Fernando de la Cruz. I like Fosdick as the trainer. and I see some, decently competitive numbers. So this one is technically an X by the raw class, or sorry, by the class adjusted numbers. Maybe one I would think about including from a raw standpoint, because they would be B horses. This one would fall into that same exact category again. And Fosdick has Deshaun Parker in this case. So again, I mean, technically they're not used in this system or in the adjusted numbers, but I would probably have some saver tickets with them underneath as well, or at least with them utilized, so that I can make sure I have them. Albert Lopez for John Horan with the number 5, Mystical Justice. I'm not using that horse. And then Birdie Blue, 75, and a C grade on that one. So my top 2 grades in this race are C's, the 1 horse at 5-1 and the 6 horse at 6-1. That's good value there. And I can definitely make some money if I use horses at that value, assuming they go off at those prices, which is always a little bit questionable. I do think, though, that I would also just kind of protect myself a little bit with the 3 and the 4 in here as well. So I will probably use those 2 somewhere because I did still rate out pretty highly, but I will definitely be using most heavily the 1-6. All right, moving into race number 3, 5.5 furlong, state bred allowance, non-2 lifetime, 69X, number 2, 55X, number 3, Blue Moon Justice, 74C, number 4, Azaro Steel, 90A. So this is my big use right here. This is one I'm definitely going to have on the tickets. Super Duty Justice at 8-1, 68X. Number 6, 62X. Number 7, 66X. Number 8, Compass Point, 93A plus. So this is a weird race where I actually have an A plus and an A. That typically doesn't happen very frequently. But I am going to use them pretty similarly when it comes to actually putting together my final tickets. So we're going to go 8, just slightly favored over the 4, and then I will use the 3 as well as sort of a backup player. But most of my tickets are going to go through the 8-4. I could definitely see this leg here, this third leg, being sort of the pivot point for all of my pick 3. So roll them into and out of the 8 and 4. The only thing that I don't love is the 4 is currently at 2-1, or is 2-1 on the morning line, which is a little light. And then the 8 as well, which is Compass Point, 4.5-1. So a little bit better there, but not necessarily some of the prices that I have earlier. Because I do have those earlier prices, I should be able to get away with using some favorites here. So this race, lightly raced, 5.5, Fillies Maidens special weight, 34,000. With so many, you're going to have a lot of numbers here. So the number 1 at 6-1 is an 81B. I'm Smart is a 66X. Happy Out is a 67X. You can see if we were using the raw ratings that we would use literally every single horse here. So I don't think anybody's in without a chance. Number 4, Sassy Seiji, 83B. Bourbon Buns, 71C for the number 5. Day Spot, 81B. Cactus Flower, 75C. Mystique Saboteur, 83B. So I've got a lot of numbers here that I'm going to be using. I'll probably use the 1, the 4. This one I'm not going to be as picky with making sure that I have different weights on them, just because there's so few delineators in terms of what they've used. There's not very many data points. So I'm going to kind of keep them all equally used. The 7 does appear to be just a little better than the 5, but not by enough to make it significant. So I'm probably going to end up using a lot evenly here, which may mean that previous race, this might be more of a double one where I play my top 2 horses into some longer prices. Whoever's longer on the tote board, I may do some value hunting here and just eliminate any short price horses and try and really beef up the value there, because I just have a lot of possible contenders. Moving on to our 5th race, we're moving to the turf, a mile and a 16th maiden special weight, 34,000. So again, you're dealing with lightly raced horses. So as we look here, we've got number 1, Echo Mountain, 45X. Number 2, Prioritization. This is a 74 and should be a seahorse. I love the second time starter angle off the 76. That's really good. Simon Peter, 76C for the number 3 horse. Number 4, 60 and X. Number 5, Weather Prayer, 6-1, 58X. Kid Shalene for Emmanuel Esquivel, 88A. That's going to be my top selection. Number 7, John's E Cowboy, 75C. I don't love this. This has not been quite as effective over the last couple race days, but nevertheless, rates out to be a 75C. Burn and Ash, 67X, and then Tropical Tornado, 84B. So I'm going to go ahead and definitely use the 6 here as my top selection. And I will have that more prominent over the 9, the Tornado. And then I'm going to use the 2, the 3, and the 7, but I'm going to use that in 7, 3, 2 order, but I'll basically have them all on the same line, again, with most going through the 6 and 9. Lightly raced horses, but I do feel like, with the 9 having a little bit more form to go off of, you have a little bit of form here on the 7, a little bit of form on the 6, a little bit of form on the 5. So you definitely have much more experience than the last race, which is why I'm a little more comfortable making those distinctions in talent levels, whereas in the last race it was a little bit of a blanket. We're continuing on with the Maidens. So this is going to be one where you're going to have to just really watch the tote board and just be selective, because with these races, there's just a lot of unknowns. And as I've mentioned before, the system tends to work better when there's a lot of data points, because that's how it basically pulls these numbers. So these races with less data points are obviously subject to more chaos. So we're going 5.5 furlongs, filly state bred maiden specials, 38.5. Number 1, 41X. Number 2, 59X. Number 3, 82B. That's one of our top ratings here. Number 4, 52X. Number 5, 68, C grade there. Domestic Review is number 6, 47X. More Approval, number 7, is a 72C. Number 8, Anna's Tribute, 46X. Shotgun Katie is a 59X. The number 10, Quite Whimsical, 38X. 11, Z's Lucky Girl, 95A+. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use that horse most heavily. That's actually one of my best bets of the day. I really do like the way that horse shapes up here. I will go ahead and I will use with the 3 and the 7 as well. And actually, I would distinguish between those two horses. With the 3, I've got a short price. The 11, I've got a short price. But I like that when the 7 comes in at 9-2, I've at least got a little bit of juice behind that one. I may think about the 5. 12-1 is probably a fair price. Anything below 10-1, I'm not going to use the 5. Anything above it, I probably will. So moving on to number 7. This is a mile on the turf for Philly State Bred Allowance, 40,000. As we look through here, number 1, 59X. Number 2, we have 65X. Number 3, Kanfu, 70X. Number 4, Voodoo Justice, 53X. Number 5, Brewski, 69X. So you're seeing a lot of crossouts. And in fact, we're going to end up getting down to just one horse in this race. Getting Tipsy, 61X. And then here's the one that I actually like. Nothing But Flowers. Early speed runner for Deshaun Parker. Green Hill hitting at 21%. 71C. Number 8, 34X. Number 9, Favorite. At 7-5 for Marceline Pedroza. Good training connections here. Upward form. This horse here would qualify as a C grade on raw numbers alone. And this horse may get elevated as scratches come out, but right now I do not have this horse as being used. Sentimental Journey, 56X. Number 11, Mint Chocolate Chip, 43X. And that is a main track only. So we will get some scratches there, and I think there will probably be a little bit more clarity. But right now, I'm going to try and single through the 7, Nothing But Flowers at 8-1. If I were to use others underneath, I would look at potentially the 3. I would certainly look at the 9. And then beyond that, I think maybe the 5. The 5 is 6-1, and the 2 is 8-1. So I would probably use those if they're hanging around those lines. If they dip too much below that, then they're probably not very usable. Moving on to race number 8. This is 6 Furlongs, a Philly State Bred Stakes race. This is the back home again. I have the 1 Sky's Image, 60X, the 2 Louder Than Words, 59X, the 3 Mi Estrella, 75C, the 4 Holy Justice, 44X, the 5 Compressed Energy, 66X, the 6 Flirty Dancer, 60X, the 7 Muddy Boots, 52X, the 8 Riante, 47X, number 9 No More Fake News, 39X, number 10 Kisses So Sweet, 49X, number 11, Everything's Rosy, 74C. So again, I'm in a situation where I don't have very many horses that I can utilize. Based on the system, it comes out to be the 3 and the 11. 3 is at 15-1. Nice, fat, juicy price on that one. And then the 11 is Everything's Rosy, which is 6-1. So I like those 2 horses. I will say you can see there's a number of others, and I assume there will be some scratches that will make things a little bit more, a little bit easier to get around this race. So some of these scores may be elevated a little bit. Of the horses that I have not used, I mean, I've got the 5 at 20-1. That's probably worth an include on some ticket. The number 6 horse, of course, is Flirty Dancer, and then Sky's Image are kind of my other options. I would say of those, I definitely like the 1 and 6 more than I like the 5. But nevertheless, I'll kind of put the 5 in the mix there as well. So that's probably how I'm going to play it. But again, I'm going to go heavily through here, assuming that the numbers don't change too much. Race number 9, we're going a mile on the turf, the Indiana Grand Stakes. And with this one, I actually have no letter grades on any of the horses. So based on the class levels here, nobody rated out high enough to actually earn a letter grade. You need a 71 or better. So we end up with a situation where you've got you're going to have to go to raw if you're going to use this one at all. But I really think this is a wide open race. So 47X for the 1, the 2 has a 53X. Big Ben Lusian, 48X. Princess Theorem, the number 4, 58X. 50, the 5, She's a Mystery, 52X. Number 6, Miz and Ash, 42X. Number 7, Still Charging Maria, 49X. Number 8, Burning Ambition, 67X. Number 9, Pathetic, 51X. Number 10, Taking Her to the Cleaners, 28X. Number 11, Mrs. Claus, 45X. Number 12, Celestial Spin. 69, I've got this as a C grade. That's using the raw, and I should have done that for the 8 as well. That one should have a 68 raw. I'm just going to circle that so that I know I had to go to the raw numbers to even get those grades. So it's technically an X. And then 16 X for Revs Run. So at the end of the day, I've only got 2 horses that I even think can be competitive here, and that's the 8-12. I'm loving that I get the 12 here at 30-1. I do notice that at times the morning line can be vastly off at Indiana Grand. So whoever makes that sometimes does not have a great handle on how the bettors are going to play. But I would anticipate I'm still going to get probably closer to 10-1 or maybe even 15-1 on that horse. And I will definitely take that given how competitive it is against the other ones in this group. All right, moving on to our final race of the day, a mile turf. This is the Caesar Stakes for $150,000. Sorry, I believe there's one more after this. Yeah, so the 10th and the 11th. So the Caesar Stakes is the co-feature, going a mile on turf, co-feature with the Indiana Grand. So we've got Clarestown, the number 1 at 73C, Perfect Silent Cat, 67X, Shofar, 70X, number 4, Osei. I didn't write Osei's number in here, but that would be a 65X. Nikki Two Shoes. Apparently none of my marks saved here. So Nikki Two Shoes is an 89A. And then Dynamite is an 81B. And then number 7 is a 75C. So as I come through here, I've got the 5 as my top selection. That's Nikki Two Shoes. And then I've got that over the 6. And then I would take the 7 and the 1 in sort of this placeholder. But I think I can go pretty skinny here. I've got an 89, which for Indiana Grand horses, that's a pretty good score. So number 11, the final race of the day, and I have a feeling that none of my marks saved here. They did not, so that's perfect. We have a state bred Circle City Stakes. Going 6 furlongs on the dirt. I'll quickly mark up the past performances kind of as we talk through. So I've got Moens here as a 71C. That's a pretty good score. The number 2 is an 18 in X, not usable. The number 3 at 5-2. This one has a really good score, actually, an adjusted of 90. And that's going to be an A+, so definitely one I'm going to use. But again, we're looking at lightly raced horses, so take that with a grain of salt. It just means that in categories in which the horse rated, it rated extremely well. Number 5, I've got 62. 62 is an X. Number 6 is a 65, and based on adjusted numbers, we're not going to use that one. Number 7, Oro Azteca. This one has an 86 and will end up coming out to an A. I love seeing A horses at 12-1. That usually spells the potential for some great payoffs. So 53, we're going to go with an X. Number 9, Tour of the Moon, 47X. Number 10, What Now, Daryl, is going to be a 41X. 11 is going to be a 37X. That's corner tap. And then finally, we have High Cotton Justice, who's going to come in at a 69, and that's going to be an X. So as we go down through here and we look, again, we have an A+A situation. Technically on raw ability, both the 3 and the 7 rate out as A+ horses. I'm going to take a look here. The 3 is at 5-2, and the 7 is at a much juicier 12-1. So I'm going to use them equally on top because I get extra value if that 7 comes in. And then after that, the one that I want to have on my group is the 1 here. And outside of that, I don't need a lot of other things. If I see, like in the doubles, one of these other horses getting crushed, I might add them into a weighted double underneath there. So that's kind of how I see the Indiana Grand card playing out for Wednesday. 11 thoroughbred races, as they have 4 stakes races, so kind of a midweek treat there for horse players of Indiana Grand. If you want to see updated T3 boards after scratches, make sure to follow me online on Twitter at Handicapping T3, and I will have those posted. And I'll also try and post my ABC grid as well if you want to go ahead and follow those picks. Good luck in all your plays at Indiana Grand on Wednesday, September 8th, 2021.